Hi guys, welcome to our channel BAX. Today we are going to see about SQL index. First, let's see how SQL index works, and then we can see how we can create a SQL index on tables, and then I will explain you how those indexes can be used to fine tune the performance of SQL query. First, let's see what is index. Indexes are used to speed up query process in database server, resulting in high performance. Indexes helps you to get the fast response from the database server when you write when you write execute your SQL query. They are similar to textbook indexes. Yes, when you take a textbook, actually the textbook will have a index page uh, containing the page numbers of each chapter. Suppose you want to go to a particular chapter in the textbook, then you can directly find the page number of a chapter from the index page, and then you can locate the chapter in the textbook. This is a simple way to identify, locate the chapters in the textbook. The same way indexes works. Let's see how indexes works in the same way to find the records from the table. Before that, let's see what are the types of indexes available. There are two types of indexes available. One is cluster index, another one is non-cluster index. Let's see what is cluster index. Cluster index defines the order in which data physically stored in the table, which means they are sorting the records in the table and then store the results set in the backend. So since we can sort the records of the table based on a single column, then that can be only one cluster index allowed per table. We cannot have more than one cluster index for a table. Cluster index is created automatically on primary key column. Yes, when you define a column as a primary key in a table, then database server will automatically create a cluster index for you on the primary key column. That is a default behavior. And if you don't define any column in the table as a primary key, then it is your duty to create a cluster index on the table for a specific column. So below is a syntax to create a cluster index manually. So create cluster index name on table and then column that will be used for creating cluster index. In our case, we have mentioned two columns. It is also possible to combine more than one column for a cluster index. In this case, these indexes are called as a composite cluster index. Since we are using more than one column, that will be used to identify the records from the table uniquely. And also you can find out whether the indexes created on a table using the below SQL statement. Execute SP helps index student, that is a stored procedure which helps you to get the list of indexes created on a particular table. This syntax is specific to Microsoft SQL Server. So this syntax will be different for database to database. If you use different databases, syntaxes will be different. You have to use the respective syntaxes for each database. Let's see how this cluster index works and how it is getting stored in the tables. First, I have a create statement for student table that is having around 6 columns. Out of those 6 columns, ID is being used as a primary key column. Since we have defined a primary key in this table, then database server will create you cluster index automatically on the ID column. That is a default behavior. Once this table has been created, the next step is to insert the records into the table. Here we have around 10 records, insert statement which is having 10 records to be inserting in this student table. But the order in which they are inserting is different. Actually, we are inserting this record in random order. We are not sorting this record. See here, the first record is having the ID value of 6, and second record is holding the ID value of 2, and third record is having ID value of 9, which is not sorted. So by default, when you insert the records into the table, the records will get stored in the order in which they are inserted. That is a default behavior. But in case the table is having a cluster index, then the way of storing the data will be different from the default order, because the cluster index will sort the records of the table based on the cluster key and then store the result in the physical storage. That is the behavior, right? So in our case, All these 10 records will be sorted based on the ID column, that is a cluster index, and then it will store the results set in the backend storage. So this is how it will get stored eventually in the backend table in sorted order based on the ID column. Since we have defined a cluster index on top of our ID column, it is sorting the values of ID column and store the respective records in the table. So this is the behavior. And next, let's see what is the non-cluster index is. Non-cluster index doesn't store the physical data inside the table. Non-cluster index is stored at one place and table data is stored in another place. So in case of non-cluster index, we have to maintain a separate table. The database server is maintaining a separate table to store the index details and separate table for storing the actual data, that is the table data. So in case of cluster index, we don't need to maintain a separate table for storing the cluster details. The cluster details will be stored part of the table data itself. But in case of non-cluster index, we have to store the index details in separate table that will be used to get the results of the query. So more than one non-cluster indexes are allowed for a table. So which means you can create more than one non-cluster index for a table. So there is a syntax given for creating a non-cluster index manually. So we have to keep in mind that database server won't create non-cluster index automatically. You have to create non-cluster index manually. That is the default option. So create non-cluster index name on table name, and then the column that will be used for creation of non-cluster index and the order here, whether it is ascending order or descending order. Let's say we have created a non-cluster index on student table for name column, and let's see how it is stored in the backend table. So in case of non-cluster index, there will be a separate table will be available for storing the non-cluster index. So whenever you create a non-cluster index, index table will be created automatically, where it will have the index column. In our case, it is name column, and also the index column will be column values will be sorted based on the order you have mentioned in the index definition. So in our case, we have mentioned ascending order. So the names column has been sorted. The names of the records, values of name column has been sorted in ascending. And also there is one more column available, that is a row address. The row address actually pointing to the actual row address from address of student table. So for each record in this table, each record in this table is holding the row address. That is actually the respective row address of the records available on the student table. Suppose you want to find this details of a student, say for example Joseph. Then what would happen is actually when you ensure query, when you execute the query, database server will check if there is any indexes created on this name column, and if there is an index, then it will go to this index table and find the row address of particular student, that is Joseph. It will take the row address of Joseph student, and it will fetch the details of Joseph from the student table using this row order. This is how the non-cluster index works. So this is how it helps you to get the records from the table directly by using the row addresses.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share, comment and subscribe to our channel BI Hacks.